Well, you've probably had your doctor order your cholesterol tests, right? Maybe they've even talked to you about how your HDL C is considered good cholesterol and LDL C is bad cholesterol. And they might have told you that a higher LDL C means you have a higher risk of heart attack. Well, you can kind of take my word for it. Those explanations are way oversimplified. What if I told you that there's a much better way to assess your risk of having a heart attack, one that most primary care doctors don't even know about? Well, that marker is called Apolipoprotein B, or ApoB for short. And it could be the single most important blood test that you're not getting. Well, I suppose you're wondering, if this channel is all about hormones, then why is this guy talking about cholesterol tests? I'm so glad you asked. I'm Steve Goldring, the hormone pharmacist, and the secret sauce in what I teach is all about hormone optimization. That means making sure all your hormone levels aren't too high and they're not too low, but they're just right. When you get to those just right hormone levels, two important things start to happen. First of all, your menopause symptoms improve dramatically, sometimes even disappearing entirely. Second, your long-term health risks go down at the same time. And long-term health risks are what this video is all about, because apolipoprotein B is at the core of one of the most serious long-term health risks that you're going to face as a postmenopausal woman, and that risk is heart attack. If you'd like to learn more about how hormone optimization can reduce both your symptoms and your long-term heart risk, visit my website at simplehormones.com/optimal to learn about my Hormone Menopause Masterclass. It's called the Menopause Solution. We'll get back to hormones a bit later in this video. So what exactly is ApoB and why does it matter so much? Apolipoprotein B is a protein found on the surface of every artery-damaging lipoprotein particle. ApoB is found in particles that literally clog your arteries. Each of those particles carries exactly one ApoB protein. So when we measure ApoB, we're not just looking at how much cholesterol is floating around in your blood, that's total cholesterol. We're actually counting the number of cholesterol particles that can burrow into your artery walls and trigger plaque buildup and eventually a heart attack. It's the number of particles, not how much cholesterol is inside those particles, that drives heart disease risk. And that's why ApoB is now considered more accurate and more predictive than LDL cholesterol for heart disease. Imagine cholesterol particles are like cars on a busy freeway system, let's say Los Angeles. LDL C tells you the total weight of all the people riding inside those cars. Well, that might give you sort of a rough idea of how many cars are on the road, but it doesn't seem very precise. ApoB, on the other hand, actually counts the number of cars on the road. More cars means more traffic, and more traffic means more chances for collisions and traffic jams. In your bloodstream, more ApoB particles mean more chances to damage the inside of your arteries. Well, you could have a so-called normal LDL-C, but still have a high number of ApoB particles. And those particles are what cause the damage in your arteries and lead to heart attacks. Conversely, you could have a high LDL-C, but still have a lower number of ApoB particles. So those two risk numbers don't necessarily line up. Sometimes they do, but they don't always. So how do you go about lowering ApoB? Well, there are four main strategies that I want to share with you today. One is reducing saturated fat. You can also do some supplements, and then oral estradiol, especially for women who have gone through menopause. And then there's one more that I'm going to hold out into the end. Back in June of 22, my ApoB was pretty high at 161. That put me in the very high risk category for heart disease. I wasn't really interested in taking medication at that point, so I ran sort of my own N=1 experiment. It's an experiment that just has one person. That was me. My goal was to reduce saturated fat while I maintained the amount of protein I was eating and, most importantly, avoiding insulin resistance. I reduced the red meat that we ate. I swapped chicken thighs and ate more chicken breasts. I cut down on cheese and half and butter. I cooked more with olive oil and avocado oil and less with butter. I added a morning blueberry smoothie that had whey protein and some other ingredients. I ate more salmon and more fiber, more nuts, and sometimes flax seeds and flax meal. The research shows that most people can get a 3 to 9% reduction in ApoB with these types of diet changes. By April of 23, my ApoB had dropped to 106, and that was a 34% reduction with no drugs, only lifestyle and supplements and diet. Berberine is a plant-based supplement that's been used for centuries in traditional medicine. Berberine helps reduce your blood sugar, it helps improve your insulin sensitivity, and improve your overall metabolic health. In my previous video, I explained how berberine can help lower your hemoglobin A1C and reduce the risks of insulin resistance. That's especially important for postmenopausal women who see their A1C start to creep up. Blood sugar and insulin issues significantly raise the risk of heart disease, diabetes, and Alzheimer's. But berberine has a side benefit. It also lowers ApoB. There was a 2023 meta-analysis of 18 studies that showed berberine lowered ApoB by about 25 milligrams per deciliter compared to placebo. And that's kind of similar to what most people see with dietary changes like I did. Well, in my own experiment, I changed my diet and added berberine at the same time, so it's a little hard to tell which thing did what, but the berberine was clearly part of the combination that worked for me. Many providers and professional organizations say transdermal estrogen is good and oral estrogen is bad. And I believe that's a little bit of an oversimplification. It's largely based on older studies and the fear that surrounds blood clots. And here's some of the nuance around oral estradiol. For most women, especially those without a clotting history or a genetic predisposition to clots, oral estradiol carries a pretty low clot risk. That risk is much higher with something called conjugated equine estrogens. Those are derived from horse pea, Premarin. Estradiol is a lot less. Now here's what most people don't realize. Because oral estradiol passes through the liver, it stimulates LDL receptors in the liver, and that increases the clearance of ApoB containing particles from the bloodstream. This effect is pretty beneficial. Oral estradiol has been shown to lower ApoB by 10 to 14%. There's also some strong evidence that oral estradiol makes a big difference in heart attack risk. The evidence supporting transdermal estrogen for heart disease risk is actually a lot weaker than the evidence for oral estradiol. For some women, oral estradiol may be worth discussing with a knowledgeable hormone specialist. Now let's address the elephant in the room. You may not realize it, but there is an elephant, and it's called statins. Statins are some of the most effective and most cost-effective ApoB lowering medications that are available. These aren't the only drugs that lower ApoB, but they are certainly the most commonly used. Statins block cholesterol production in the liver, which increases the removal of ApoB particles from the bloodstream. Most people see a 21 to 30% reduction in ApoB with statins, depending on which statin and how much dose they take. Well, here's how this sort of played out for me specifically. After completing my diet and supplement experiment and dropping my ApoB from 161 down to 106, well, that felt great, but then I sort of relaxed my eating habits. By September of 24, my ApoB had risen back to 132. I talked about this with my hormone optimization doctor and decided to try pravastatin. He was a little hesitant initially, but I strongly advocated for it, and so he gave in. Pravastatin is a lower potency statin that's less likely to cause things like insulin resistance and muscle problems. So I started taking about 10 milligrams in late 2024. By December of 24, my ApoB had dropped to 88. That was a 33% reduction. And it puts me firmly in the desirable range. So yeah, I'm taking a statin, and I'm okay with that. My reason was, well, maybe a little self-serving. I wanted a little bit more flexibility with my food choices without pushing my heart risk too high. I wanted to be able to eat a little bit more saturated fat. Statins aren't right for everybody. They do come with some risks, but they are among the most well-studied tools that we have for lowering your ApoB. Again, there's a lot of controversy over them. If you're considering a statin, be sure to talk with a provider who understands the big picture, including your hormones, your insulin resistance risks, and your long-term goals. If you're wondering whether your doctor will actually order an ApoB test, here's the reality. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'd rate the likelihood at about a 3. Despite strong evidence, most primary care providers don't really routinely order ApoB, so you'll likely need to ask for it by name, Apolipoprotein B. The good news is that unlike LDL C, you don't even need to be fasting to get an ApoB test. But even so, you may encounter some resistance from your primary care doc. When I asked my own primary care provider, he had basically never heard of ApoB, and he really didn't want to order it. He told me, well, we're already checking your LDL C, and that's all we need, and so I just let it drop and tested it through my hormone provider. LDL C, though, doesn't always tell the full story. ApoB can uncover hidden risks that standard cholesterol panels miss. If your doctor won't order that test or doesn't know how to interpret it, you may want to think about working with somebody who does. Well, ApoB is the single most important lipid marker that you're probably not tracking. In my next video, I'm going to talk about another lipoprotein that's almost as important or maybe equally important with ApoB. It's called lipoprotein a, or Lp(a). It's largely genetically determined and kind of difficult to change, but the good news is this: there is one thing that can move the needle. Surprise, it's hormone optimization. Stay tuned for that video. I'll explain more then. Look forward to seeing you there.